Well, the nice movie. Well, in spite of some technical problems, it looks like I am in like proverbial Flynn. How long I'm able to broadcast is anyone's guess. There was this weird, almost Philadelphia experiment electrical storm that just passed through our area. I think it's wreaking havoc with our internet access because I can't tell you the number of times I just had to shut down and reboot my computer. And I was trying to upload a nicer thumbnail for my post earlier for uh, the short horror film I was reviewing today. And, well, I'll get back to that later. Didn't want to keep you guys in suspenders. And look, I have my first guest. It's Tom. The hungry jerk says hello. Hello to you too, Tom. Oh, he's doing his Mr. Bill. Oh, no. Can I do the face? I used to love those on SNL. Bear with me. The pollen is absolutely crazy, too, by the way. We haven't had much rain, so all the pollen's just kind of sitting there. This ear is so blocked up, I keep thinking things are coming at me from the other side. Because I literally can't hear out of this ear. I've been trying that murine for like 2 days. It's helped, but I still can't hear. So I guess it hasn't helped. And the pollen, I'm very, very wheezy and congested. Enough about my problems. Tom, how are you doing? Thank you for being early to the party as opposed to being tardy for the party. Any topic of choice? Oh, look, Daryl Johnson's in the house. He says, Bob. I'm going to try to do this with my glasses, by the way. They shine back at the camera, and it makes me look like some mad scientist from the 50s. Oh my gosh! In the house is that fat samurai guy. What's up, Thrash? Just stopping in real quick to say hi. Thrash Pondo rocks. No, Fat Samurai, you rock. And if any of you haven't had a chance to check out Ian's recent live chat, both Fat Samurai and I were on it, by the way. We had an absolutely smashing time. Please check it out. Ian has posted it. It came out great. Oh, by the way, Mr. Fat Samurai, I'm so sorry. You were in the process of asking me a question, and somehow I got logged out somehow. As I was just discussing before you arrived, I have an ongoing issue with technical problems. I gotta get a new computer. This one is a glorified paperweight. But again, sorry that I bailed on you the other day, and thank you for joining tonight. Even if it's just to stop by and say hi. Superplex in the house says, good evening. A good evening to you too, Superplex. Let's see who else we got. Oh, a lot of people having fellowship. That's my favorite part. We really are creating a community, as Dave would say. Mr. Led in the house. Thresh, maybe Dr. Frankenstein was upsetting your power grid. We can't rule it out because he's alive. Alive! Dan's Daily Blog is in the house, says, greetings from South Carolina. Let's see what we have here. Oh. We have, it's either a new friend who's repeating himself, or, yes, I guess Mr. James Wong was not a new friend. Thank you, Dan, for being on top of that. You could say we got a Wong number. Let's see what else we got going on here. Mike Sylvia in the house. Hello, Mike. Good to see ya. And we will just endeavor to persevere. Mike Silver presents us with our first topic tonight, which is also our last topic from our last chat, Night of the Living Dead from 1968. So, those of you who were required to do homework, we're going to watch the movie and tell me, what do you think of my number one fan theory? Was in fact, and spoiler alerts in case for those of you who haven't seen it or care, I mean, it's been out for over 50 years. It's your own bloody fault by this point. What do you think of my theorem that it's actually TV and the mass media are the true heroes of the movie? But I'll let you say yay or nay in the comment section below. And let's see what else we got going on here. Where is Lance? We need him. Yes, where is Lance, by the way? Haven't seen Mr. Chafin for some time. Oh, look here. Bill Dub Farley in the house. Hey, bud. Won't number joke was over the line, please. Hmm. I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. Um, I think the joke that James Wong put up may have been offensive. It's been taken down, and we're very very sorry. And yes, he said further down. Wong number is that joke. Well, again, I did not mean to be offensive, and whatever Mr. Wong put, don't mean to be offensive. It was an oops, and we did not want to start any um, issues. But in any event, apparently the offending person has been removed, and we're very sorry. Skipping down. Oh, look now, someone else is back. Oh, Bill Dub Farley. Now he's saying something offensive. For crying out loud! Here we are trying to maintain a sense of decorum. I'm actually apologizing to the offenders now. Uh, must be a dub number, I guess. But anyway, I'll try to endeavor to persevere. I see here that where was it? Ah, Mr. Lid says, "Oh, hi, Daryl. I hit the button with Mr. Z. Yes, thank you, thank you." So, well, hopefully that's it. For those of you who are on top of this, particularly Mr. Dan, thank you very much. We'll try to endeavor to persevere. Um, Hopefully that is that. I don't know why they pick on me. I have like 150 followers. I do these for laughs. I don't know how they all targeted on me. Probably because for the first one, I didn't have any mods. But now we got the mod squad. Or does someone of you find that offensive? In any event, be nice, and then you don't have to worry about having your feelings get hurt. Mike Silva. I keep saying Sylvia. I don't know why. Mike Silva suggests Teenagers from Outer Space. I haven't seen that movie in years. I remember the MST3K did a wonderful treatment on it. Well, there were two things about that movie that I remember the most. One, it seems to be one of the many precursors to uh, the Terminator. The dynamic between the two alien soldiers is right out of Reese and the Terminator unit. Also, the monsters at the end are overgrown lobsters. I always thought that was very funny. Daryl Johnson says, "Get Bill." I like that. Let's see. It were the vigilantes lynch mob who killed the zombies. It was a movie encouraging justice by the masses. You mentioned that before, but I gotta tell you, remember there's that scene where the sheriff says we saw three of those zombies clawing into an abandoned shed. There was nothing in it. It occurred to me years ago. Those three zombies weren't going into an abandoned shed. There were people held up in it. And the mob killed both zombie and survivor alike, much as they killed Ben inadvertently. So, no, I don't give the vigilantes the hero. Uh, Even though they actually work with the mass media, I don't give them the hero ticket. Daily Dan says, "Fun night. I am the bot slayer." Yeah, you are all about it, ballot. Mike Silva says, "Lot of trolls, ton." Well, so far just the two. Whether it was the same person working in tandem or two unrelated, I'm guessing it's the same person with a lot of different personalities. Either way, be nice or be nasty somewhere else. I don't know. Oh, Daryl Johnson said he got reported too. Good. God. Try to be nice to some people and you kick yourself. Oh, look who's in the house. John Collins, what's up? What's up with you, John? Always good to see you. Always good to see you. Skipping down. Oh, Kenneth Wilkinson says, well, good evening to Tom, but Ken, good evening to you too. It is awesome to see you. Superflix asks, what happened to the blonde haired woman? I'm assuming you mean Barbara from The Night of the Living Dead. I always promise spoilers. Um, she tries to save Mrs. Cooper when Mrs. Cooper is snagged through the door. And while she's trying to hold the zombies off and screaming, no, 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 she sees her brother, who is now zombified. And she is so overcome by this that she permits the zombies to grab her and drag her to the house, presumably to eat her. So she sadly suffers a very nasty fate, being consumed by the body of her late brother. Ooh, all kinds of horrible stuff there. Oh, Ken Wilkinson asked, did you ever watch Blake's Seven Thresh? No. At the time, PBS were the only ones really running a lot of BBC sci-fi in my area. And the one in my area never carried Blake 7. Never carried Tripods either. And a whole bunch of other really great BBC stuff. Daryl Jones said blocked in report, so hopefully that takes care of that. Yes, and for those of you asking, no, Dave was going to do a show tonight, but he was unable to. So because he was unable to, he has very nicely yielded his time to me. John Collins asked, would you consider Labyrinth a sword and sorcery movie? Ah, so you saw the show. Hold that thought for just 1 second. There's a We Can Do It person. Oh, you're already guys are way ahead of me. They started doing that thing where they post one letter, and if you read down, it's a naughty word. Dan, you are all about it. Thank you. It's hard for me to consider Labyrinth a sword and sorcery movie. There's plenty of sorcery, not a lot of sword. There's a lot of mysticism and fantasy involved. If you want to consider it, I consider it high fantasy. But if you wanted to consider it sword and sorcery, who am I to get in your way? But I would consider it more just romantic fantasy, really, because it's all the musings of the very young Jennifer Connelly. Mike Silva says, it's not Mac from Mac and Me. I think I may have missed an earlier comment, but I'll take your word for it. Hungry Jerk says, met Paul Darrow years ago. Tom, that name sounds wicked familiar, but I can't place it. Feel free to remind me in the chat. Mike Silva asks, mentions Lidsville and HR Puffin stuff. I watched both of those when I was a kid. Talk about high fantasy. Love the two of them. There was even that crossover where Hoodoo, the bad guy in Lidsville, briefly dates Witchy Poo from HR Puffin stuff. I thought that was a riot. Zuperlik says, where is Emily? Emily keeps promising she's going to come to one of my live chats. She won't come on as a guest because she is quote-unquote camera shy. But she says she will come on sometime just to say hi. Hopefully she'll come on tonight. I would love to have her on board. But when she's good and ready. Oh, Paul Darrow was from Blake 7. Thank you, everyone who just filled me in on what Paul Darrow is from. Mike Sylvia. No, can I just call you Sylvia? Mike says 1974 Land of the Lost. I have talked about Land of the Lost on several occasions about how it was like one of my favorite shows of all time. It arguably is my favorite Saturday morning show of all time. The only show that possibly narrowly edged it out when I was a kid would have been the primetime show Planet of the Apes. And I gotta tell you, I had an idea in my youth to do a crossover episode even before Uncle Jack, Ron Harper, goes from one show to the other. I was actually thinking I could actually work that in. Like, Uncle Jack was, in fact, one of the astronauts, but of course they have two different names. But sometimes crossovers sort of play with the truth, or at least the continuity. But I always thought that would be amazing. You have the horse-drawn ape troopers lassoing Grumpy and taking him down. You have brawls between the Sleestaks and the ape soldiers. I thought it would be amazing. Um, of course, since she was a crush in my youth, of course, Holly would fall in love with me. That's a side note. But anyway, I loved Land of the Lost in my youth, and to this day still do. I think it's great. I won't discuss the Will Ferrell show because, well, I'm not a fan, and many people are, and that's okay. I thought, well, I'm just going to leave it at that. Not a fan. Mike Silva goes on to mention the Lost Saucer. I loved the Lost Saucer. It was so deliciously surreal. I like. I mean, you have these silly, bumbling robots and two quirky Earthling kids and a dog horse hybrid, two of my favorite animals as a kid, having weird adventures. I loved it thoroughly. Zuplik says the Croft Bros were really into narcotics. that that would explain a lot. Dilly Dan's the good stuff. Well, he's not tackling bots. Says lots of Croft Con footage up on Daily Dan's The Good Stuff parts, and he gives us a link. If those of you who haven't seen uh, Dan's whole series on posting the footage from CroftCon, please do. Please do. He did a lot of work and there's some really great footage there, so please check it out. And those of you who haven't subscribed to his channels, please do. He has several, and I'm sure you'll love all of them. Most of you already have. Most of you knew him before me, but just in case. Even James and Bud. Kevin Davis in the house says hi, Bob, and hello to you. Kevin Davis also said I didn't care for the movie. I'm assuming he means Land of the Lost movie. It just deviated too much from the source material. Lance Chafin in the house. We were just talking about you. So good to see you back, buddy. Oh, we've been getting a bot attack, by the way. So have your wrench ready. Dave Claroni in the house. Hi, gang. Sorry I'm late. I was almost late myself, actually. I was plagued with a number of problems, technical problems. I think I had something to do with the electrical storm that just passed my way. But I'm going to try to keep broadcasting as long as I can. Mike Silva says, me either, Kevin. I don't think he liked the Land of the Lost feature film as well. If any of you do and you want to throw it on the gauntlet, great. In fact, I was hoping we had a righteous little back and forth over Robot Monster about a week or so ago. And I was getting ready to concede the point. So, but if any of you want to have a righteous debate on the movie that I like and you don't, or vice versa, please do. Superplex says, "Hey T Pawns, is the pollen count still high on Cape Cod?" I was actually talking about that a little earlier. I am not only am I congested up here, I think I'm getting an inner ear infection. If those of you care, this ear I can't hear out of. That's why I'm keeping the headphones tonight. It sort of balances the pressure. I can't hear it in this ear, and every time I hear a noise, even if it's on this side, I look this way because everything sounds like it's coming from this direction. It's just a pain in the backside. Superblick said, loved Robot Monster. I loved it too, but if you remember, we were I don't want to put words in another poster's mouth, but one of the friends of the channel was actually discussing how he thought it was a classic, and I said while I loved it, I didn't consider it a classic, and we went back and forth, and he finally convinced me that it was a classic because any movie that can be loved that vehemently, even by a small group of people, that makes it a classic. So, Mystery Monsters, I just gave the giveaway. Yes, I concede it is in fact a classic. And Tom, you are right. You will see Dave Sundstrom on that CroftCon footage. Let's see. We got a lot of people having fellowship. Kevin Davis says there is a classic 1950 movie called Destination Moon. There certainly is. It's one of the few times Robert Heinlein, one of my favorite authors, actually dabbled in filmmaking. And I guess he despised the experience, and it's one of the things that turned him off from Hollywood. Um, Mike Silva said the Yesterday Machine. I am not familiar with the Yesterday Machine. It sounds familiar. I mean, like I think I've heard of it, but I don't recall it. Zublick says, T-Pons, have you ever seen the Groovy Ghoulie Zacharel? He was a star in New York City. The Groovy Ghoul Zacharel. No, I have not. I'm guessing he was a horror movie host. Lance Chafin says, I liked Invaders from Mars. I'm assuming you mean the original. I like both the original and the remake. But if I had to choose, the original was the better of the two. And Kevin Davis points out Destination Moon was close to accurate for a movie of 1950. It was, but little things kind of bothered him. Like for the fact that when they were walking with the space shoes on the outside, they went clang, clang, clang. And of course, in the vacuum of space, you wouldn't get a clang, clang, clang. Mr. Litt says, Thrash, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, original or remake? That is an excellent one because I like them both for different reasons. I love the original for its take on Cold War paranoia, but I love the remake for its sort of the way it integrates the whole 1970s quasi intellectual mental health movement and how detrimental that could be in an alien invasion. So I tend to think I think of them almost as different movies. If I had to pick one, believe it or not, if I had to pick one, I'd probably go with the 1970s one, just because I am such a huge Donald Sutherland fan, and it had such a great supporting cast: Jeff Goldblum, Leonard Nimoy. It just, and also it's the little things about that movie that really sold it to me, like Robert Duvall on the swing set for absolutely no reason. The fact that in the background you'll see people just sort of running around like they're hysterical for something with absolutely no explanation. I mean, yeah, you have the star from the original. Name eludes me for the moment. You know, I have that COVID cloud, by the way. Really easy names just kind of elude me. But he runs up and says, You're next, you're next, you're next, which is exactly where the other film leads off. Wonderful, wonderful friend of channel suggested that he's actually been running for 30 years, 20 years, 25 years. I love that premise. But there's also there's a scene where they're in the office building and they're walking by just having a conversation. And you look through a window and there's this guy just sort of like he already knows and he's like his paranoia is getting the best of him. It's just I love the remake so much. I'm gonna have to go with that one. T-Pon's favorite Ray Harryhausen film. I'm just going to go with Clash of the Titans. They're all so fantastic. It's really tough to have a favorite, but I saw Clash of Titans in the theaters. It was possibly the only Harryhausen film I saw in the theaters, so I'm going to go with that one. Daryl Johnson says, in space, no one can hear you clang. I love it. I love it. Let's see what else we got going on here. Mike Silva says, in space, no one can hear ice cream killer clowns from outer space. TDP Barnum said it so long ago. Francis Ford Coppola started out with Roger Corman. He certainly did. He certainly did. How about Village of the Giants with Ron Howard and Beau Bridges? I actually love that movie. And as you know, it is loosely adapted from H.P. Lovecraft's Food of the Gods. How can you go wrong? Tom, the Hungry Jerk says, Jason and the Argonauts. That was great too. I mean, I saw that one with my cousin when we were like together for Thanksgiving when I was like 5 or 6. That's a good one too. Although I hate it when he killed the Hydra. I thought the Hydra was cool. He should have made friends with it. Kevin Davis says, I liked Robinson Crusoe on Mars. I actually have that on videotape and VHS, by the way, and I love both. Great movie. Just on any number of levels, I just think the movie works very, very well. Kevin McCarthy, thank you, Mr. Lim. Yes, it was Kevin McCarthy, who was the hero of the original, and the original is an excellent movie. Skipping down. The Creature from 20,000 Leagues, I think, is the title. Creature from. Well, there's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and there's Creature from 20,000 Fathoms. But I don't think Harryhausen did either one. Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Yes, with the septipod. It's supposed to be a octopus, but it didn't have enough legs. Zuplex says dinosaur attacking New York. The Lost World. The original House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price, a classic. It certainly is. It certainly is. Oh, by the way, while we're at it, I want to give a couple of quick shout outs before I forget. Well, one, I want to thank a good friend. She was actually with us the last time I did a live chat. Retro Nerd Girl. As requested by the Fat Samurai Guy and others, I'm going to be doing a retro film review of one of my favorite post-apocalyptic films / sword and sorcery movies, Wizards. And she mentioned some excellent points, and I want to thank her for her, because I'm going to read them into my review. If you haven't checked out Retro Nerd Girl, please do. Please do. She has some amazing retrospective reviews, and I'm sure you'll love all of them. Also, the Unapologetic Geek is shooting to have his first live watch-along this weekend. I don't know the exact time, but it's going to be The Last Man on Earth, which we talked about sometime. If you haven't subscribed to the Apologetic Geek, please do. He brings out some amazing retrospect reviews as well, and his watch-along series just sounds like a lot of fun. So subscribe to his channel, and hope to see you at the first watch-along. Also, Whisper the Freak has something new. For those of you who haven't checked him out, you got to. He's bringing out not only some amazing sci-fi horror with a book that he's written that he's presenting in a chapter-by-chapter format right here on YouTube, which is available, I guess, on Amazon as well. But he's also bringing some amazing music as well, and he has a cover out as of today of Painted Black, which I highly recommend to all of you folks. And by the way, I posted another video today. I was actually working on the thumbnail when my entire system crashed. So it's got kind of a bland thumbnail. I'll have to do a better one a little bit later. But Midnight Videos. I have recently discovered a channel called Midnight Videos. They specialize in horror short films, and they present some absolutely amazing stuff. I did a review today on a short film they do called Your Date Is Here. Yes, it's loosely based on an old vintage board game of a very similar name. And anyway, if you get a chance, check out my review, check out their channel. They're bringing out some great stuff. And apparently they're going to be bringing out some more very, very soon. And that covers it for shout-outs as well. If I haven't shouted you out, how could I possibly forget? Once again, thank you, Dave, for letting me borrow your spot today. And you were very much appreciated, and I can't wait to see what you got going on for next week. And I've already shouted out to Dan, my good friend, co-creator, and mod, but I'll shout out to him as well. And that takes care of shout-outs. Kevin Davis says, have you ever seen Atlantis the Lost Continent, which was released in 1961? The only Lost Continent I know, of course, is the one about the rocket which crashes on the island in the South Pacific and has to be recaptured before it can be captured by a foreign power. The other Lost Continent was from later, and that's not Atlantis. That takes place in the Sargasso Sea, and that I think is from 1968. Great Hammer film, but I'm not familiar with Atlantis. Wait, is that the one that has the boss from Get Smart in it? I forgot the title of it. But if that's the one you're talking about, yes, I have seen it. I saw that with my father when I was like 5 or 6. Mike Silva, I'm singing in the rain. What a glorious feeling. I'm happy again. Apparently somebody wants to talk about Clockwork Orange. Either that or Singing in the Rain. Either's fine with me. I like both movies. Hey, Mike, sorry, bro. Apparently people are sorry he's singing in the rain. Dan is also thinking about Clockwork Orange. You see when you started, Mike? It's okay. It's actually more remember than the actual scene from Singing in the Rain. Skipping down, gonna see the Beeve on Sunday. Minute before. Oh, you're going to the convention. Tom, have a wonderful time. Oh, Wajemin in the house says hello, everybody. Hello to you, Wajemin, by the way. Love the stuff you're putting out there as well. Skipping. By golly, I think I've caught up. Oh, but Superplex asks an excellent question. Why was it called A Clockwork Orange? I actually know the answer to that. Okay, now for those of you who've seen the movie, for those of you who haven't, why would you be on this channel? But for those of you who've seen it, you know one of the pivotal scenes is when Alex and his droogs break into the home of the lefto writer and his young wife. He's a political activist and is writing a book about how in modern times everything is trying to be reinvented. People are trying to reinvent the wheel, better living through science. And his political satire is called A Clockwork Orange, meaning that rather than just having oranges grow naturally, the government is trying to reinvent them and just basically making the world more complicated than it needs to be. And that's just the sort of book within the book. That's just the book that he's writing when Alex breaks in and destroys his life. And aren't you amazed that I actually knew the answer to that? And yet I can't. Ah, here they are. I can't find my glasses. But skipping down. Oh, look who's here. Lisa Field says, "Hi, Thrash. Hi, everyone. Hello to you, too. I was hoping you could make it. Thank you. You missed a lot of drama. We had some nasty bots who, well, got rid of them. Thanks to Dan and et al. Hungry Jerk says, I was in 5th grade when I saw Clockwork Orange. Wow. Yeah, wow is not kidding. I mean, I saw it when I was in college, and I think I was still too young. Lance Chafin says, how about a creepy movie called Cape Fear? Robert Mitchum, very scary performance, even when he has the daughter cornered. I found the original Cape Fear to be even scarier than the remake with Robert De Niro. It's an excellent film, very creepy. And moving forward, Mr. Lynn says, have you seen The Creeping Terror? Yes, I did. Interesting little fun fact about that, by the way. The reason that's getting buffering, by the way, Superplex, I am so sorry. It might be that power failure I talked about. But the reason that so much of The Creeping Terror is in like a voiceover and narration as opposed to actually people talking to each other. Apparently, the actual audio tracks got trashed, and they thought of the fly and just did a lot of it as a voiceover. Daryl Johnson said, "Most impressive, Bob. Thank you." Zuplik says, "A Clockwork Orange got an X rating originally. It sure did. In fact, I think when I was a kid, I remember there was a local theater down here on the Cape that was showing it because they showed adult movies. And I remember I asked my father if he could take me to see it, and he had a dick in the time explaining to me that it wasn't for a kid. And I thought it was more like, oh, a cute little orange having adventures. And he's like, no. But of course, all the older kids were talking about, the older kids of like 13, 14. But anyway, no, my father did not take me to see it. Although I did see Clockwork Orange with him years later, again, when I was in college. And, someone points out David Prowse was in Clockwork Orange. Yes, he plays the nurse who takes over for the crippled left-wing writer towards the end. And we see him out of makeup, so nobody notices him. Skipping down. Hungry Jerk, Tom says, we once went out as droogs for Halloween. Brilliant. Brilliant. As long as there's at least 4 of you. Well, 3, because they did ditch Alex at one point. Kevin Davis asks, how about Forbidden Planet? Love it. It's science fiction doing Shakespeare. It's The Tempest in space. One of the most influential films. If it wasn't for The Forbidden Planet, you wouldn't have things like Star Wars, Star Trek, and all that type of thing. I think it's actually one of the most influential science fiction films ever. Even if you don't like it, you can certainly see the influences on many, many, many other works. Uh, Tracy Ross Myers, when did you get here? I just looked up and I saw Tracy Ross Myers saying hello to everybody. Well, anyway, hello to you. You snuck in. I didn't see you come in. Always nice to see you, Miss Tracy Roth Myers. Oh, there she is. Hey, Robert, and hello to you too. Welcome to the party. Zuplex says it was a big letdown from 2001: A Space Odyssey. I'm assuming you mean uh, Forbidden Planet. I don't know. Well, they're two completely different films. One is like sci-fi adventure, and the other one is more cerebral. So it's hard to stack the two together. But I can say if you like one, you might not like the other. David May, welcome to the party. David May says, loved the early Dracula movies. Hi from Montreal, Canada. Hello to you as well, by the way. Welcome to the channel. Hope you enjoy. I'm trying to think, what would my favorite Dracula movie be? Well, of course, the earliest, of course, would have Bela Lugosi, but I kind of fell in love with the Hammer films with Christopher Lee and stuff like that. But one thing about even the vampire movies by Al Adamson. Even the bad ones can be very entertaining. But let me know if you mean early Lugosi or early as in 60s Hammer Dracula movies. Kenneth Wilkinson says, I always dress up as Doctor Who for Halloween. You have the jacket and the long scarf. Kevin Davis, I also like Blade Runner. We all love Blade Runner. Tracy Rose Myers says Clockwork Orange is one of my favorite movies. Really mine too. Tom, the Hungry Jerk says hello, Montreal. Mr. Lid says Thrash, how about the hearse? Seen it? I don't know. You know, it's ringing a bell. I just cannot place it. But I can't say that I have. I probably haven't forgot it, but that's a no countsies. Lisa Field says, I watched Your Date Is Here, Thrash. I jumped and screamed so loud at the end. Scared my daughter. Isn't it freaky? Yeah, and it's like 6 minutes long. Any movie that can have you that carried along in the story arc that when it goes boo, it's like you jump out of your skin. You gotta give it to them. Hungry Jerk says, love the Mammer Mavate. I'm assuming he means Hammer movie. I think I'm actually really good at reading what I think people are writing. Well, I notice like you're trying to type your question in so fast that sometimes you don't have time for spell check. Tracy Maya says, I like Fahrenheit 451 myself. The only full-length science fiction book that Ray Bradbury ever wrote. He wrote a huge amount of science fiction, but most were short stories. Did you know Al Adamson filmed movies in Spawn Ranch when Manson lived there? Superplex, I knew he filmed there. I did not know Charlie was there at the time. I believe it, but I did not know that. A lot of people filmed there. That's how Spawn actually made a living. He was retired because he was falling apart at the time. Oh, hold that thought. David May. Yeah, Lugosi was great. Vincent Price did great horror films as well. Yes, he certainly did some great horror films as well. In fact, we were just talking about The Last Man on Earth, where ironically he's not playing a vampire. He's playing the only man who isn't a vampire. But yes, gotta love yourself some Vincent Price. Oh, I was just making a wonderful point. Oh yeah, Spawned. He was unable to work. He owned the property, and he let a lot of people film there, often for short money. Hungry Jerk says I couldn't stand Slaughterhouse 5. Nah. Really, I kind of like Slaughterhouse 5. Um, but to own their each. Speaking of which, the wise guy, the wisecracking guy who does the voice impressions in that was Larry Storch's brother. Larry Storch has just passed on. The brother died a few years ago, so rest in peace to both. Zuplex asks, favorite Al Adamson film? I'm going to have to go with Frankenstein versus Dracula. The whole thing is just surreal. And much like Ratfig and Boo Boo, It actually started out as a completely different film. It wasn't a horror film initially. It was some type of thriller. And what they did was when that movie died on the table, they took the footage and added some more in there and created Frankenstein versus Dracula, and that's going to be my favorite. Lance Chafin says, "I loved Soylent's Green. We are the food." Oh, spoiler, Lance. Yes, people. It is people. I love Soylent Green. In fact, you must have heard my trivia question by now. Name all four movies, post-apocalyptic movies, that Charlton Heston has starred in. I'll see how many you can do it before I give the game away. But so now I actually read the book that Soylent Green, pardon me, Soylent Green was based on. It's called Make Room," and to be honest, it's one of the cases where the movie's better. Not to mention, fantastic supporting cast in there as well. You got Whit Bissell, you got oh, the rifleman. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Just great supporting cast. And moving forward, let's see. Daily Dan, the good stuff says, "I loved Bella and the Hammer movies were good in a English kind of way, but the Dracula I love is always with Franklin Jella. Franklin Jella really brought. Oh, oh, and he's already on it. Wow, a massive bot attack just just saw our way, and Dan was on top of it as always. Thank you so much. You're the man, Dan. Zuplik says Soylent Green was an underappreciated film. It certainly was. Kevin Davis says, "I thought the Hammer movies were more risque. They were particularly in the UK. They had to edit them for American audiences. They took out some of the violence and more risque tidbits." David May says, "To he saw movies where he saw movies were too graphic. The Saw movies were too graphic. They were very graphic." Ken Wilkinson says, "Yes, I have the jacket and scarf. I also have a sonic screwdriver." And it's like too cool. Lance Chafin says, "The Last Starfighter, saw it. I always thought it was kind of overrated. I don't know why. It just didn't grab me, even though it has the girl Kathy blah blah from one of my favorite movies of all time, Night of the Comet. But I mean, it's a good movie. It just didn't grab me the way a lot. I mean, some people, some of their favorite movies." Mr. Lid says, "Girl wrecks your car off a bridge, survives, but keeps seeing an apparition. Don't want to give any spoilers. Sounds fun." Mike Silva says, "Last Starfire classic." Yeah, a lot of people love it. And I do understand that. Lisa Field says, "Lance, my daughter just watched Soylent Green. She loved it." I'm glad she did, by the way. Keep introducing other generations to these films. Tom the Hungry Jerk says, "Uncut Hammer movies show nudity." They certainly did. Kevin Davis says, "I didn't know that." Oh, yes, they did. It wasn't crazy stuff, but they did. They kind of pushed the envelope. In Great Britain, horror movies were considered adult entertainment, so they were more inclined to permit things like that. David May says, "The original Exorcist scared the heck out of me as a teenager." I could see how it would. The commercials scared me when the movie came out when I was like 10 or 11, but the commercials for it just scared me to death. So the whole movie, I can see how that would be scary. Oh, bam. Okay. Kevin Davis has more bots. Yep. Superplex. Planet of the Apes. Beneath the Planet of the Apes. The Omega Man and Soylent Green. You've been paying attention. You get the Thrash Pondo Legion of Merit Award for all four Charlton Heston post-apocalyptic movies. Very proud of you. David May says, "The Shining was great. I preferred the book though." Haven't actually read the book, but everyone tells me that. Everyone has said the book is much better. Lynn Chapin got 3 out of 4, but I technically got all of them because Planet of the Apes counts twice. So Lance, I'm going to give it to you. Daily Dan has said, "Bot number 4 has left the building." Yeah, Now it's either the same guy who really has an axe to grind against me, and again, I don't know why. I'm so lovable, or they're all targeting me. Someone said it's weird if you pop up in the algorithm, they'll just kind of target you, particularly if you're new at it. I don't fully understand it myself, but we were just talking about that. Um, well, I've been talking about it with everybody. Fat Summer and I had a chat about that the other night. Some of my friends at Action Elite. It's just weird what attracts these people, and sometimes you won't see them, and sometimes you do. I don't think I get any last time. But skipping ahead, the life and set ending is in the house. He says Peter Cushing, Chris Lee movies were great. Anytime you put the two of them together, you have lightning in the bottle. I did a whole post on Horror Express, um, which isn't a vampire movie. It's one of the movies to which Who Goes There, the movie the thing was the book rather that the thing was based on. It's also based. Horror Express is also based on that book, and it's a really fun little English film. The two of them are great together, and yes, I love the Hammer films that the two of them both did. Lance Javen says, Catherine Mary Stewart. Yes, she was in The Last Starfire, and I can't believe I couldn't think of her name. Had something of a crush on her when I was a teenager. A lot of crushes when I was a teen. Well, all course for the par, I suppose. Um, let's see. I did that thing where I go to skip down and it goes, so I'm trying to make sure I don't miss anybody. Oh, Tom the Hungry Jerk says Doctor Who fans were at early Star Trek conventions in the 70s too. I know also the 80s. I know I was there. Yeah, there was a lot of crossover between Doctor Who and Star Trek. People used to wonder like why you couldn't do a Star Trek episode where Doctor Who bails them out. Could have been fun. Superplex points out T-Pawns is too popular. I'm getting there. I'm at over 150 subscribers. I'm actually getting to the point where some of the people who subscribe to my channel have less subscribers than me. For a while, they all had more than I did. Now I'm actually getting to the point where I actually have a few more than them. But then with my shoutouts, hopefully I'll get them up to surpass me, and they can then bring me up to match them, and it could be a ladder of popularity. Wow, ladder of popularity. Something out of a Mean Girls movie. Kevin Davis says Enemy Mine was a good movie. Enemy Mine was an excellent movie. Again, talk about World War II sci-fi crossovers. It's also effectively the same story as Hell in the Pacific with Shinola Mifune and Lee Marvin about two World War II enemies in the South Pacific who end up on the same island and have to try to work together to survive. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Even the fact that Toshiro Mifune doesn't speak a word of English, it's still a fascinatingly entertaining movie. Mr. Led says, sorry, Thrash, that was the film The Hearse plot. I see. Still racking my brains. I know I've seen it, but I've seen so many movies sometimes that go in one ear and out the other. David May says, never really watched the original Dark Shadows TV series. I was actually a kid when it was on, and even in reruns. And I remember my grandmother watched it religiously. I had a weird grandmother. My grandmother watched it religiously, but it drove her insane because she had seen the original when it aired, and then when it was on in syndication, they showed it, but they didn't show it sequentially. They showed it like MASH, where they just showed whatever episode they felt like showing that night. And of course, it's like a soap opera, so you have to watch it in order. And it drove her nuts. Now, in the network's defense, my grandmother also drank a bit, so it could have been she just was tuning in on the wrong night. I don't know. But I saw a few episodes when I was a kid, and it was kind of cool, but I did not watch it religiously. Lisa Field says the original Don't Be Afraid of the Dark scared me as a kid for a long time. I remember some of those. I remember my daughter at that age kind of watched the show, and it would kind of be on. I'd be in the living room when she was watching. They were surprisingly well written for kid shows, and some of them could be a little on the creepy side. So I can certainly see that. Lance Chafin said, I liked Life Force. I liked Life Force too. It's effectively 5 million years to Earth, or let's just say a Quatermass movie, um, done with a bigger budget. But it was certainly solid. Oh, Dilly Dan wants me to remind all of you that 13 o'clock live with Daily Dan at 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time Saturday night will be airing again this week. He did it last week. It was a lot of fun. For those of you who are night owls like us, he's left a link in the comments section. Please check out 13 o'clock. Um, with apologies to George Orwell. Oh, and Zuberlick says, thank you, T-Pons. No, thank you. Daryl Johnson says, the Hudson Brothers, hysterical. I love the Hudson Brothers Happy Fun Time Hour Saturday morning kids show. It was like laughing for kids. I thought it was amazing. And they kind of pushed the envelope for Saturday morning TV shows. So, Tracy Rosemeyer says Cat People was interesting. That's a way of putting it. I assume you mean the Malcolm McDowell, Natasha Kinski. Yes, it was interesting in an unsettling kind of way. Mike Silva says Super Night of the Demons, great movie. It certainly was. Let's skipping down. A lot of people referring to what other people have said. Skipping down, making sure we don't have any bodies. Bodies. Ew. Body. Oh, and Daily Dan has asked me to. Let's not forget our good friend Pat at the Golden Rage of TV. He's doing some amazing stuff as well. In fact, he's the one who brought us the interview with Jerry Mathers, the Beaver, who's now going to be doing a convention fairly soon. So let's not forget our good friend Pat. Oh, and look who else is in the house. Lee Mateus. Lee Mateus says, yo. Lee Mateus, how you doing, man? How you feeling? You feeling okay, dude? For those of you who haven't met Lee Mateus, he does some excellent compare and contrasts of music, generally hip-hop music. He's been Ian's guest at least a couple times, did some great shows. If you're into like cutting-edge music, please check out Lee Mateus. He's got some great stuff. Oh, and you still promised me you were going to do that ICP video, by the way. I'm still waiting. I'll wait until you're feeling up to it, but very much looking forward to it. Zuplik says, so Shatner wouldn't work in stand-up life. I could see William Shatner as a stand-up comedian. He just wouldn't be very funny, but I could see it. Daryl Johnson also liked Life Force. I like Life Force. Let's see. Skipping down. Let's see what else we got here. Tracy Ross Myers says, to be honest, those Croft TV shows scared me, LOL. There was some stuff in there that I could see scaring people. It got pretty intense, too. So I could actually see why people would be scared. Skipping down. Hungry Jerk said, Sam's a lot scared the tard of me as a kid. That vampire was freaky. He scared the she out of me. I gotta tell you, there was, and the way he just sort of like levitated up to windows and. The Life and Set ending asks, any Twin Peaks fans here? Loved it. I absolutely loved that show. So when I was in college, loved it. I missed the episode where they explained who killed Laura Palmer, by the way. So if anybody knows, please clue me in. I imagine it could have been anybody she was particularly close to, so it's probably somebody unimportant. Tom the Hungry Jerk says, hopefully I'll bump into Pat on Sunday. Hopefully you will. Mike Silva says, any Outer Limits fans here? Yes, both the original black and white series and the later remakes. I thought they were all pretty good. Daryl Johnson loved Twin Peaks. Daryl Johnson goes on to say, love Log Lady. Kevin Davis asks, which version? That could apply to Twin Peaks or the Outer Limits. I'm assuming originals for both. David May says, William Shatner is from Montreal. I knew he was from Canada. I didn't know specifically which city. But thank you. Yes, he is from Canada. Zuplik says, Life said he struck out the Life said he struck out in the comedy department. So we did try stand-up comedy. I was kidding, but I can see him trying it. He has that very intense spoken word feel, so I can see how he could kind of emote into humor. I gotta get stuck there for a second. Kenneth says the original Outer Limits. Dan reminds people to check out his William Shatner stuff playlist. He did. That's actually how he and I met. Before I even knew he was a friend of David's, I was checking out his stuff on Star Trek, and as big a fan as he is, we kind of hit it off. And then he showed up at one of Dave's live chats, and I'm like, "Holy cow, you're that guy!" You know. Superlick says the Outer Limits scared me. I was 6 at the time. I saw it in reruns, but yeah, some of them kind of scared me too. I think I'm actually caught up. Well, almost caught up. Delian says, I am the Link Master, the bot slayer. You certainly are. Mr. Led says, any X-Files fans? I am such an X-Files. In fact, the original work that Ian and I worked on was actually a episode by episode recounting of the X-Files TV series. Nobody watched it, so we stopped doing it. It was a lot of work for something nobody was watching. But yes, we were doing episode by episode of the X-Files, which I haven't seen in years. Oh, Superlick says you do a great William Shatner, T-Pawns. Well, thank you very much. I just sort of over emote while speaking. Trithos Myers says Tom Rodman and Godzilla rides again with our George Takei. I didn't know about Todd Rodman. I did know he was on Godzilla Rides Again. She goes on to say Rodan. He may have been in that as well. Liz Chavin says Jet Jaguar. Superblex says, wasn't there a Bambi versus Godzilla? Yes, they used to show it on Night Flight all the time. It was like this 30-second little black and white cartoon. It was all done in like line drawings. And it showed a very tranquil Bambi eating moss. And the whole thing is a scroll of credits. And the second the credits stop, you just see a Godzilla come down and go, dun! And killing Bambi. Mr. Led says, put it back on, Thrash. Put what back on? If I think of it, I will. Hungry Jerk says, Lance, met the lady from King Kong Escapes. Jenny Miller? Jenny Miller? A very attractive blonde woman when she did the movie. I'm assuming that's it. It's so funny you mention that because another person in that movie we were just talking about from Mothra, from Mothra, Robert Dunham, who had a fairly substantial career making Japanese films because he spoke fluent Japanese, but was a Bakagaijin. And he actually retired one town over from me. He's gone now, rest in peace, Mr. Dunham. But he actually retired over one town over from me. Some of the people used to come to my video shop used to talk about him. He may have come to my shop at one point or another too. I never actually met him, but some of his neighbors did and mentioned him because I was such a Godzilla fan. Lance Javen said, "Food of the gods." You know, I was. Did you see my video, by the way? I actually do a video on a short horror film called "Your Date Is Here," and one of the things I mentioned in there, and this is weird. One of the things I mentioned in it is when the girl gets the game out of the closet. There's a box there marked jumbo chickens. And I go, is that a reference to Food of the Gods? So either it's just Lance Chafin, either you saw the video and are making reference to that, or it's just one heck of a coincidence. Either way, yes, I have seen Food of the Gods, and anything based on well, actually, Food of the Gods wasn't Lovecraft. Food of the Gods was H.G. Wells. But Brian Aldiss wrote a story called The Saliva Tree, which is sort of Food of the Gods if it was written by H.P. Lovecraft. and I have sufficiently muddled the mix at this point. I like the Piranha sequel. I saw the original Piranha. I don't recall watching the sequel. I may have, I just don't recall. I like the original though. Life Inside Editing says, remember the great Gazoo, the alien on the Flintstones? Yes, of course I do. He was voiced by iconic Harvey Korman. Rest in peace, Mr. Korman. Mr. Lid says, now that you have more subscribers, we would watch the X-Files program. I'll talk to Ian. He might want to get it up and going again, by the way, because we love doing it. It just, again, nobody was watching it, so that's the point. Lance Chapin says, Kingdom of the Spiders with William Shatner. I love that movie. You want to know why? I am hideously arachnophobic. So that movie scared the BGs out of me. You know, a little known fact about that movie, I found this out recently. Tarantulas are inherently scared of people because we're bigger than them. So the tarantulas were all inclined to run away from the people, but they were supposed to look like they were attacking them. So they used to use little air guns to sort of get the tarantulas to run in the other direction. Daryl Johnson says the stinging twins in Mothra. I'm so glad you cut that. I'm afraid some people might have thought I was just having a spoke. Maybe I'm having a spoke. I smell toast and tea. Tea and toast, and I'm sorry. And Daryl Johnson says 5, 6, 7, 8 did Mothra. Check it out, it's pretty good. Do they actually translate the song? I recently found out, and I mean recently found out, it wasn't even Japanese, which is why even when you watch the original Japanese version, you can't get the translation. It was sung in this Indonesian dialect. And so I still know what the girls are singing. Tom Donkey Jerk says the bad incident with Shatner happened when I was 12. Ew. I'm sorry to hear that, Tom. Trader with Miner says William Shatner's Iron Man was pretty funny. I am Iron Man. He was born of steel on the great magnetic wheel. And that's all I'm going to do. Unless you folks beg me. Actually, I better not. I mean, that song is copywritten. And the last thing I need is a hit. Dilly Dan's the good stuff points out The Devil's Reign with William Shatner. I absolutely love that movie. Ernest Borgnine's in it too, by the way. It's got an amazing cast. And that was by L.Q. Jones, who did A Boy and His Dog, who specialized in those sort of like low budget experimental horror films. That's great. The other one, I was going to mention it, but I can't remember the name, but people keep mentioning Shatner, so I think I feel compelled to. He did this experimental sci-fi horror film in the early 60s. I believe it was by the same people who produced The Outer Limits, but the gimmick is that the entire film is in Esperanto. Yes, the entire film, there's not a word of English. You have to read the subtitles. They do the entire thing in Esperanto. It is trippy. Lisa Field says Mothra is a good movie. It's actually one of the most popular of the giant kaiju films. I saw it in a Fathom event a few years ago when I still went to theaters. Kenneth Wilkinson says, did you see Kingdom of Spiders? Shatner was in that. Yeah, I certainly did. Even though I'm a massive arachnophobic, I did watch it. I loved it. I saw it with my uncles when I was in Plymouth for Thanksgiving. Yes, my grandparents lived in Plymouth. And I always thought it was cool. When I went to Thanksgiving, I would actually go to the place of the original Thanksgiving. Lance Javin said, Prophecy 1979, Giant Mutated Bear. Yes, I saw that in the theaters. That, too, is trippy. Hungry Jerk says, no one was around. I asked Shatner for his autograph, and he told me no. Oh, what a snot rag. Very sorry, very sorry. Well, I spoke, I'm not going to mention names, but I spoke to a kid. We used to get a lot of WWE entertainment up here. And this kid used to hang out in my video shop, came in and buying WWE entertainment. And he came in and he was all upset once. And I asked him what was wrong, because he used to come in all the time. And apparently he had snuck into one of the back rooms to ask a certain icon for an autograph. And before he could even ask, the guy said, "Get out of here, or I'm going to kick your blank." This is a little 12-year-old kid. This guy's like, "Brrr." And after threatening the kid, who the kid was a giant fan of, he's going to at least get an autograph before I go. He goes, "No, get the hell out of here." And the kid was devastated. Now, I understand there are a lot of crazy fans out there, because I can certainly see him being upset by the kid's presence, but, did you really have to break his spirit? Tracy Rosemeyer says, at least they're not huntsman spiders like they have in Australia. I thought the huntsman was from South America. They do have nasty spiders in Australia, but, well, it could be just a southern hemisphere type spider. Lance Chafin says, yes, Tracy, really big spiders out there. Oh, I do not like spiders. Of course, I live next to a swamp, so we get big spiders all the time. It's Tom Hungry Jerk says, William Shatner, Rocket Man is great. Check it out. Way ahead of you. Zuplex says, you are too much, T-Pawns. No, you are too much. Daryl Jones said, well, of course, they lived on an island. Yes, they did, didn't they? I'm not sure who we're talking about, but yes, they lived on an island. I'll just play. When did that play along? Oh, Kevin Davis says, bye, Bob. Kevin, thank you for joining us. Have a great evening. It was great to see you. Don't know when I'll do the Let's Dive chat, but I'll try to give you some warnings so you can join us. Lance Chafin says, L.Q. Jones, Lone Wolf McQuaid. Was he in that? He may have been in that, now that you mentioned it. I saw that in the theaters as well, by the way. Great film, great film. Life and Sad Ending says, Rocket Man, burning out his fuse out there alone. Lisa Field says, anybody see The Car? It was going around town killing people. I saw that years ago, I think on the Sci-Fi Channel. Daily J and the good stuff. I have 400 copyright claims. Laugh out loud. You can find most of the William Shatner stuff we've been talking about on the good stuff. Laugh out loud. Please check it out. Tom Monkey Jerk says Esperanto is the I guess jumped there. Unedited nation's language. Superpublic says, where would Elias be without Shatner? Lisa Fields says, anybody like Eight-Legged Freaks? It was funny. Yes, it was sort of a comedy take on those old giant monster movies, now that you mentioned it. I again saw it in the theaters. Daryl Johnson says, sorry, I'm so random. And Superpublic says, you said Michael York once rejected an autograph. Yes, I had. Thank you for reminding me. Tom, I don't know if you've heard the story. You probably had it 3 or 4 times, because I've told it probably that many. I had a very similar experience with Michael York, which I will now share with you since you ask. I was at one of those conventions. That video store outfit I worked for used to have national conventions. The first one was in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we were there, and we were doing autograph signings with various massive celebrities who were there promoting this movie and that. And this was right around the time Austin Powers 2 had come out. So they had Michael York on one side of this auditorium and Vern Troyer on the other. And of course, everybody wants Vern Troyer's autograph, but I've been a fan of Michael York since I was like 7, ever since like the Three Musketeers came out. So I'm over the moon to get his autograph, and he's just kind of like doodling on the black and white 8x10 and just pushing them in front of people. And I said to him, I want to say something gushing, but not just, everyone fan, they hate that. I want to say something that was actually relevant and had some thought to it. And I go, I've been a fan of yours since I saw you in Three Musketeers by Richard Lester. And he went with what I can only describe as militant apathy. He goes, oh, is that so? And I'm like, I'm going to go get Vern Troyer's autograph. And he was eating it up. You could tell he was like new into having like a fan base. He was just eating up. He was standing on a chair. It was so cute. He was standing on a chair giving his autographs. And as I walked by, I said to him, Shasta McNasty had just been renewed for another season. And as I walked by, I go, hey, congratulations on the show being renewed. And his face lit up and he goes, hey, thanks. And he was much happier about giving autographs. So yes, that's that story. I did get the autograph. I still have it somewhere. But he was kind of a snot rag about giving it. Let's just see where we left off. Um, United Nations. That's what I thought you meant. Uh, I kind of figured, but then again, every time I try to assume, I make an Aswam out of Anemone. Skipping down. Blah, blah, blah. I'm still buffering, really? Well, at least I'm still on. I was afraid I would have. You know how sometimes when I'm on Ian's live chats, it just sort of freeze up. That actually happened to me the other night. Again, and it happened even on the Action Elite the other night. By the way, if you haven't seen me on the Action Elite, check out the Action Elite. We got some good stuff going on there too. York in Zulu, not impressed. He was in Zulu. Apparently, he wasn't particularly impressive in it. Daryl Johnson said Kevin Bacon don't surf. I'll take your word for it. And Zuplik says, I remember that phrase from TV's The Odd Couple. What? Kevin Bacon doesn't surf? Dan the Dylan the good stuff says everything looks good to me. Maybe you guys are getting electrical storms in your area, and that's why I'm buffering. Big Guys 45 said, hi, Lisa. I'm assuming that's Lisa Fields. That's our only Lisa. Big Guys 45s, hello to you too. Welcome to the channel. So far, we've been talking about old horror movies and sci-fi, but love me old music. So if you have any music topics you'd like to mention, I'd be happy to pick up the standard. You know, I've actually had some pretty good luck combining the two, vintage horror and music. I have something called Creepy Classics, where I take old songs that are very up-tempo and fun and point out the fact they have very creepy lyrics. Get a chance to check them out. You might find them to be fun. If you don't, I apologize in advance. Lance Javen says Kevin Bacon in Stir of Echoes. Yes, he was in that. Trey Thoros Myers. Yes, I was trying to redistribute the letters in a new fashion. But thank you. Yes, that's exactly what I was referring to. The Big Guys 45 says, anybody here collect vinyl at all? I do, considering my username here, laugh out loud. Yes, I did consider you were into like old 45-year-old single tunes. By the way, I have a few left over. I kind of got out of 45s when I discovered cassette tapes. They were much easier for my Walkman. I'm a child of the 80s. But I can certainly see how people would still to this day collect 45s. I did have a lot when I was a little kid. Zuplex says opinions on the movie Tremors T-Pawns. It's a great movie. Sort of a comedy, action, adventure, sci-fi. How can you go wrong? I thought everybody in it was at their best, and it was a lot of fun. Big Guys 45, I like the obscure and rare lower charting Hot 100 hits. I gotta ask, because it's my favorite episode of the whole series. Did you ever see the episode of Married with Children where Al hears his favorite song from like his early teens, but he can't remember the name of it? It's played on Rick D's like Top 100. And he goes on a quest to find the song, and all he knows about it is the chorus goes, him, him. And he goes up to people throughout the entire show going, what's that song? Him. And he starts to like literally lose his mind. And I don't want to give the game away, but it's like one of the funniest episodes they ever did. The guy who wrote that episode actually does, at least he was doing, type of podcast situation here on YouTube and telling behind the scenes stories of Married with Children. And he actually mentioned that was actually him growing up. If he got like an idea stuck in his head and couldn't satiate it, he would like literally start to lose his mind. But yes, I too like obscure classics as well. The only problem is when they're obscure, not as many people know what you're talking about. Tom Hungry Jerk says Sean Astin and Kevin Bacon in the Whitewater Summer. Too funny. Don't think I ever saw it, but I'll take your word for it. Superblex says, do you remember 78's, the year of the music? Okay, Wilkins says that I have an autographed CD from the Monkees. Too cool. Oh, in fact, Pat just asked day or so ago, who's your favorite monkey? I went with Mickey. By the way, there's a really creepy scene. You can find it on YouTube. It was like one of the ones they did was sort of like a comedy horror where the monkeys keep disappearing one by one. And it's Mickey and Mike. And they're talking about, oh no, we've lost Davy. And then we lost Peter. And if I lose you, I'll be a solo. And when you watch it, you realize that that was actually the order in which they passed on. It's it's very creepy. Um, the Life and Setting says Thrash, you should analyze Terry Jack's hit "Seasons in the Sun." That could work because you know what? I too know what that song's about. That could work. That's up there. I'm going to pencil that in. Lance Chafin said Fred Ward was in Tremors also. He certainly was. R.I.P. Mr. Ward. Skipping down. Lance Chafin says Ken saw the Monkees live in '85. Was that when they were doing their That Was Then, This Is Now tour? I remember that. They had that huge sort of very brief renaissance. The Big Guys 45 asks, anybody here remember Romeo Void and Hazy Fantasy at all? Both are new wave bands from the early mid 80s, laugh out loud. We played Never Say Never at my wedding. It was a song my wife and I danced to. I did not make that up. We played Never Say Never as my wedding dance. As far as the other group, and I butchered the name and I'm sorry, I bet if you if you name their biggest hit, I probably am familiar with them, but it's not ringing a bell. I love the video to Never Say Never too, the way it was shot in black and white. I love the horn section. It's really a great song, to be honest with you. All kidding aside. Dilly Dan says Dave loves this channel. He told me so. Thank you so much. It's so nice of you. The Big Guys 45 says Tony Basil starred in their truly insane 1986 experimental dance and music related movie Head. Laugh out loud. Wacky stuff. Tony Basil had her career was so much more interesting before she did Oh Mickey. And I always wondered if Oh Mickey was a reference to Mickey Dolenz because she was in Head. But that aside, she started out, she did choreography for all those old beach movies with Annette Funicello, even the one she did with Tommy Kirk and not Frankie Avalon. Her best friend, Terry Garr, was a background dancer. If you look very closely, you can see her in a number of them. In fact, a lot of times you see them actually not dancing together, but they actually, because Tony Basil actually did some dancing as well as the choreography. So you can actually see her in some of these old beach movies. She was at that movie, not Food of the Gods, Village of the Giants, Valley of the Giants, Village of the Giants, with Ron Howard, that we were talking about earlier. She actually, in that, she's one of the groupie girls who distracts the Giants when they're trying to thwart their plan to do something. And she plays a Native American shaman. And for those of you who are familiar with Robert Downey Jr., his father, Robert Downey Sr., was an experimental filmmaker in the 60s and 70s, did a movie called Greaser's Palace, which is an old Western, loosely adapted from the story of Christ. And again, she plays a Native American shaman, all of which are very worth seeing. Mr. Led says, Thrash, ever see The Bat with Vincent Price? Yeah, I certainly have. Suplex says, Tony Basil was in Head. She certainly was. Big Guys 45 says, oh yeah, that's cool stuff. Thank you very much. I have a wealth of useless information. Tom the Hungry Jerk says, I saw Mickey Dolenz at a old-time revival show at the country fairgrounds. Oh, it's always fun when someone cool shows up at one of those old fairs. The Barnstable County Fair is coming in any day now. Lance Chapin said, Romeo Void, Never Say Never. Yes, that's the one. Daily Den says, Big Guys 45, good stuff, bud, and dropped a link. Very kind of you. I still can't drop links to save my life. Big Guys 45 says, Basil is a legend. She's going to turn 80 next year. Yep. And she's still amazing. And she still wants to do a tour. That answers the book's question. How old is she? Life and Editing says Terry Garr was in an Elvis movie, Viva Las Vegas. She certainly was. Big Guys 45 says 78, currently born in September of 1943. Tony Basil was also on Soul Train. Check it out. No kidding. I used to love Soul Train, but I don't recall her being on it. I'd certainly take your word for it. Terry Garr was in Star Trek and Batman. Can't recall the Batman episode she did, but I knew she was in Star Trek. And yes, she was in Mr. Mom. Life and Setting says Tony Basil going to be 80. Wow. Same as Gwen Stefani. Are you kidding me? Gwen Stefani, I don't think she's even turned 50 yet. Gwen Stefani's younger than I am. So if Gwen Stefani's 80, that makes me pushing 90. And while I certainly feel that old, I don't think I am. Big Guys 45 says, anybody here like Beck at all? I'm a huge fan of his music. I like some of Beck's stuff. I couldn't go as far as say I was a huge fan, but I do like some of his material, yes. Daryl Johnson said Young Frankenstein. Terry Garr was in that, and yes, it is my favorite comedy of all time. Dilly Dim the Good Stuff says, LOL, my 11-year-old niece taught me to draw planks. Lance Javen says, big guy, I'm a loser, baby, so why did you kill me? It sounds so tragic when done spoken word. Zibble says she appeared briefly in a Mr. Freeze episode. That sounds right. Big Guys 45, Airplane, a comedy classic as well. Oh, huge. That's the one that reinvented the career of Leslie Nielsen and many others as well. But that's really what put him back on the map, is that deadpan comedic actor giant. Just great stuff. It's actually loosely based on a movie called Year Zero, I want to say, which is actually the sort of schlocky action movie from the 50s. Levin says she's only 52 years old. That sounds about right. Thank you. Tom, the Hungry Jerk, says the footage of Basil on Soul Train is on YouTube. Cool. I'll have to check it out. 23 Rosmeyer says, Steve, it's their world, and we're living in it. Ain't that the truth? Actually, it's not even theirs anymore. Les Javen says, bye, guys. Gotta run. See you soon. It's actually 9:15. I'm thinking that we'll keep it going until 9:30. So basically, Lance, we're not far behind you. So any last minute really super questions, please feel free to enter into the arena. And then we'll pick it up next time I have a live chat. The Big Guys 45 says I should go listen to Trans X and the Talking Heads. There's that bell ringing in my head. I think I know who Trans X is, but I might be confusing them with Transvision Vamp. A lot of people saying bye to Lance. I as well. Mr. Led says Leslie Nielsen was in the Forbidden Planet. Yeah, that's the second time Forbidden Planet's come up tonight. And yes, he was amazing. And who was the blonde in that? Don't tell me. Oh, go ahead and tell me. But yeah, she was amazing as well. Everyone was. And Walter Pigeon. The movie's just great. It was years ahead of its time. And how can you not love Robbie the Robot? Zuplik says, T-Pons, are you rehearsing for a William Shatner impersonation contest? Why, no. I fear my William Shatner is not near enough to go into a Shatner impression contest. I simply, humbly enter mine into this arena. And Francis, thank you. I could have just sung the song from the Rocky Horror Picture Show. And Francis stars in Forbidden Planet. I should have done that. Boom. Oh, Transx did Living on Video. Okay, thank you. By the way, Lance, I'm sorry, Big Guys 45. Please remember to hit like and subscribe to the channel. It seems like you might like some of the other stuff I do, so please subscribe and come back for more chats. You kind of came in late to this one, so hopefully you can make it early for the next one. Tracy Rose Myers says Svengoolie just played the Forbidden Planet. No kidding. Big Guys 45 says, hi, Tracy, not Ullman. Well played. Hungry Jerk says, we had Star Trek, we had William Shatner contest at early Star Trek conventions. I can definitely see that. Super Blake says, William Shatner is going to sue. While Shatner is not above suing people, the only thing he could possibly get out of me is half my debt. So you know what? Bring it. I'll give it all to you. I'll tell you how much. We'll settle out of court. Daryl Johnson says, Big Trouble in Little China. Just talking about that film the other day. They're talking about doing a remake, I guess. But anyway, yes, I love John Carpenter. Oh, Big Guys 45 says, just subbed 155 now, buddy. You are truly welcome. Yes, thank you again. I appreciate that. I'm trying to get it up to, well, 1,000. But I take them one at a time. Zerpalik says, how's your mom, T-Palm? Very, very, very nice of you to ask. She's doing much, much, much better physically. They changed her medication a little bit, and it turned out, yeah, she wasn't having tachycardia. She was having a very negative reaction to some anesthesia they had given her for the procedure she had had. The procedure she passed with flying colors, but the anesthesia caused some breathing problems. She has COPD, and she still smokes. Small amount, but still smokes. But she's doing much, much better. Now the problem is, now that we've got the health problems knocked, we're trying to get her new car on the road. And, well, for those of you who've tried to register cars in the last few months, you'll know that the RMVs are very, very backed up. So, but that's more of an inconvenience. But health-wise, she's doing just fine. The Big Guys 45s. I'll be going for now. Dinner time. Bye, everyone. Big Guys 45s. Thank you for joining us. It was our pleasure. We'll see you next time really soon. And enjoy your dinner. Daryl Johnson says, no remake. Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. Superbook says, at what point do you monetize? How many subscribers? Well, I need 1,000 minimum. The problem then is I need 4,000 hours of viewing time. So it would be easier if I had 4,000 viewers, but at least I can apply at 1,000. Superbook says, get mom to stop smoking. How when I still do it myself? Daryl Johnson says, I'll sue. Stand in line. Lisa says, bye, big guy. Thank you. Hungry Jerk says, check out Freaks and Geeks early 80s high school. Only one season, but amazing. It's amazing how people love that time period, by the way, which is funny because it wasn't nearly as much fun as they make it out in the movies. I mean, it was. The 80s were a golden age, but a difficult golden age. They were head and shoulders easier than the century we're in right now. Is the century almost over, at least, people? No? Well, at least the decade we're in is almost over, huh? Huh? Oh, well, as Churchill said, persevere to endeavor. Oh, look, someone else is commenting. Life in Setting says, Thresh, go out in the fields and visit Home Depot. Find a large shed they have for sale. Then proceed to talk about turning it into tiny house. 5 million views. You know, we talked about that once. How are these? And I don't want to knock anybody's material, anybody who puts their heart and soul, regardless of the result. Anybody who puts material on YouTube deserves mega kudos in my book. But that being said, I watch some of these, let's just say, uninspired videos, and they get millions of views. And I literally create my magnificent octopus, magnum opus, and I get like 47. And I'm like, oh. Although, if you notice, I always make stickers with my picture on it and put it on my thumbnails now. Retro Nerd Girl noticed something. She said, I've noticed videos that have your face on them get more hits. I guess because I'm so approachable. So I remember for a while I was just doing those paint can thumbnails, which I thought looked kind of slick, but you have to have my face on it for them to do better. Lisa feels I need to leave. See you guys soon. Yeah, we're wrapping up anyway, Lisa. So thanks so much. I'm glad you were able to join us tonight. Daily Dan, the good stuff says been smoking since 1978. Blank. I'm smoking now. Ken Wilkinson says good night, everyone. Uh Suplex points out again, bad habit. Yes, we know. For people at this point in the ballgame, people who smoke know it's a bad habit. Mr. Lynn says, I quit smoking back in the 70s because they went up to 50 cents a pack. I couldn't afford it. I remember as a kid saying, when they go up to a buck a pack, I'm quitting. Zublik says, get a cat, T-Pawns. Why in God's name would I want to get a cat? What car model did I buy? It's a Midnight Blue CRV. Used. Few more bucks than I wanted to spend, but it's a solid car. It was either that or this little sedan with like 263,000 miles on it, and I just wasn't comfortable putting my mother in that. Hey, it's tough finding a solid used car these days. Holy cow! Lucas in the house. Whisper the Freak is here. It says, Thrash, what's up? Man, we were just talking about you. I was telling everybody about your rendition of Painted Black today and asked everybody to go see it. In fact, I believe Daily Dan put a link in the chat. We're doing just fine. Sadly, things are kind of winding down at this point, but I'll keep it going a little bit just in your honor. Skipping down. Oh, well, I mentioned how my mother smokes, and I turned this into an anti-smoking ad. 11 Ed Sad Ending says, once you get the subs, you can do anything you want. That's what I do. You're still putting out quality material, Steve. Don't sell yourself short. Every time I check out one of your videos, I see the heart that you put into it. You may not kill yourself, but they all have heart. Whisper the Freak says, thanks so much. Well, thank you for the great material. Tom the Hungry Jerk says, it's been fun tonight. Yeah, it's been dramaful. But between all the bots and the bots actually giving us their righteous indignation, I mean, talk about adding insult to injury. That's like, having your country taken over by a foreign invader and having them complain about the litter problem in your cities. Well, if you don't like it, leave. Yeah, I went there on both score. But yes, it has been fun. Thank you. We've covered a lot of material, and for those of you who tuned in late, please watch from the beginning. A lot of the stuff you may ask has been addressed earlier on. Whisper the Freak says, I quit smoking after incurring a head injury. Could that work? Mom! Kidding. I am so kidding. She's on Eliquis and head trauma would. But anyway, funny. I'm talking so much about my mother tonight. It's weird. Hope she's not watching. Skipping down. We're also talking about freaks and geeks. Hungry Trick says, the freaks come out at night. That's about the bots. That's not about you, Whisper the Freak. That's about the. In fact, I'm still convinced that the 4 bots we got is all the same person with different online personalities, because he just seemed like he was all geared up. One of them tried to pass himself off as a new subscriber but it's all part of the fun. Trethos Meyer says, this has been great. You know what? You guys are awesome, by the way. I was so glad I met most of you here on YouTube. A lot through Dave, some of you through your channels, some of you just randomly. What Gemmin? Sorry, I'm back again. Don't apologize for being back again. Oh, I see. It was sorry back again, as if you had left and come back. But I really like the community we got going here, and I'm hoping to have a much bigger community down the road. But anyway, you guys, few things are more embarrassing than when someone's having a live chat and there's nothing to talk about. You guys keep me active the whole way through, and all the topics are good. Even the ones I don't have any input on, they're still good topics. And a lot of times you guys carry on the conversation as well. And I just want to say, it wouldn't be any fun without all of that. So thank you for joining me. And hopefully one day, I will get to something approaching Mr. Sundstrom's army of followers. Mr. Lid's got to run. Ooh, 3 up wake up call. Eek. Uh, oh, Tom Drake says that's a great fun song. Freaks come out at night. Whisper the Freak says, I've got a book recommendation for you, Thrash. Let's have it. Although I'm having a lot of fun with yours, but let's have it. It's For Brito by T.H. Hardy. Not familiar with it. I'm going to write that down. For Brito. It sounds like the detergent that was used by the Three Stooges. I'm writing that down. For Brito. T.H. Hardy. Wonderful. I will look into it. Ooh, it's a really wonderful dystopian. I love dystopian. In fact, I'm working on a project. That's actually where I came in. I'm working on a retrospect for Wizards, and I'm actually trying to dig out my old. Von Baudet did a series called uh, Cobalt 60, which supposedly was a precursor for Wizards, and I have it in my comic book collection. I'm trying to dig it out now. Who you believe depends on whose story you listen to. According to Bakshi, he and Von Baudet were friends and actually collaborated and shared material and bounced ideas off each other all the time. Apparently, Von's son Mark thought his intellectual property was ripped off by Bakshi, and that's where the drama goes. But there's a whole story in addition to this Cobalt 60, which I want to have worked into my retrospect. So I'll be getting back to you. Joel Johnson says, thank you, Thrash. Good live stream. You're very welcome. Life and Editing says, I have 158,000 thubs. Well, spiking the ball, aren't we? And no followers. I think I'll start a cult. All kidding. I'm sorry. Really? So, like when you did a live chat once, and I remember going to that, and that was even before you were doing my live streams. But we'll see about getting you some followers. I'll do it. I'll work on your followers. You work on my subs, and I'll be in Dublin for you. Zublik says all future books are dystopian. All present books are dystopian too, the way things are going. Hungry Jerk says, I've met Dave, Steve, and Pat. It would be neat to meet you too. I was going to say, and we both live in New England, so it shouldn't be that difficult. Maybe sometime we could coordinate and have lunch or something. I got to tell you, summers are crazy, crazy, crazy for me. I work in hospitality, and this summer is just off the rails. But it's fine in the fall, as they say. Put a pin in that. I'd love to actually maybe get together. We can actually do a live stream together, maybe, if that would be amenable to you. But we've got to chat more about that. Zublik says, life, what is your cult about? It's about life. It's a life cult. Joel John says, would the end of Harry Potter have been great if it ended like Wizards? Yes. Wizards has one of my favorite endings of cinema history. Zublik, I'm going to read that one out loud. Tom Dirk says, the animated Wizards, one of my favorite films, mine too. Saw it in the theaters when I was 10 or 11. My mother took me to it, thinking that it was just like some cartoon movie, like, I don't know, something by Disney. Boy, was she surprised. Whisper the Freak says, what part of New England? I used to live in Connecticut. I'm Cape Cod. And in fact, there's another version. I was going to mention that to you when we had a chance. There's another version of Painted Black by a young girl by the name of Sabad Magnus. She's not all that young anymore. She's probably best known. She was on season 9 of American Idol, and she too does a fantastic rendition of Painted Black. And she actually is from a town I lived in for many, many years. But we're both from Cape Cod. Superplex is from the Boston area. He's by my tongue. Hungry Jerk is from the Boston area. He's told me the town on several occasions. Hang on. The Hungry Jerk? I thought you lived in... Why did I think you lived in Massachusetts? I could have sworn, Tom, you told me you lived in Massachusetts. 1,000 apologies. Well, unfortunately, California is nowhere near Massachusetts. Superflex does point, yeah, T-Pons lives in Cape Cod. Yes, thank you. But I could have sworn Tom lived in. Apologies. I thought you said maybe you said you had lived in Massachusetts at some point. Perhaps that's what I was thinking. I'm getting to the point where I have so many facts in my head that every time I learn something new, it pushes something else out. But in any event, on that note, folks, I think we should put a pin in tonight. It seems every time I have a new live chat, we end up picking up where we left off with the last one, particularly because some of you didn't make it to tonight. So I'm sure topics from the last show will come up again in the next show, and we'll have a little crossover. And he did. Thank you, Tom. Tom says, I was born in Rhode Island, lived in Boston. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Okay, then now my world makes more sense now. But now you live in California. Superblick says I've learned a brain can only store so much. Well, in that case, I probably shouldn't try to put any more into it. Folks, this has been so much fun. I want to thank each and every one of you as always. I want to thank you to all my new friends. And double thanks to my old ones. And to you new ones, you'll get double thanks next time when you show up and you were then my old friends. And anyway, come back and see us again very, 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 very soon. Check out my earlier post today on your datas here, by the way. And check out your datas here while you're at it. You shan't be disappointed. And I'm looking forward to seeing you all again very, 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 very soon. Anyway, folks, good night.